Azam Part 441 was Jinnah perhaps subconsciously seeking a platform and role removed from the competitive prejudices of the Congress, appreciating that in the UK he would be recognized much more on his merit and so much less as a Muslim? Was this also his sense of continuing somehow to preserve his Hindu-Muslim unity platform? Who can tell with any certainty? Sir William Wedderburn, ICS, was a chief secretary to the government of Bombay at the time of his retirement in 1889. He presided over the fourth Congress held in Bombay in 1893. He entered the British Parliament as a Liberal member. He believed in self-governance, and one of his chief contributions was his lifelong commitment on behalf of the Indian reform movement. The Montfort reforms can therefore be also regarded as milestones in his lifelong journey. Chapter 3. After the formation of Indian National Congress, there was a definite feeling that the Muslims should not join it. The social changes brought in as a consequence of the British policies had strengthened the communitarian consciousness of the Muslims. In late 1880s and the early 1890s, a person no less than Badruddin Tayyabji, as president of the Indian National Congress, suggested that National Congress be wound up because of the communal feelings it was generating. Then the Bengal anti-partition movement and its Hindu symbols had tended to reinforce the communitarian consciousness of the Muslims. The movement was largely viewed as Hindu. The period after the Lucknow Pact had witnessed the rise of the pan-Islamicist feelings amongst the Muslims, giving a boost to their communal consciousness. The Portuguese had repeatedly tried to gain control over Kerala spice trade, which for long had been controlled by the Muslims. This regular intervention largely accounts for the Mopila tradition of violence and the gradual breakdown of the relationship between the Mopilas and the dominant caste Hindus. The European intrusion had brought into existence a competitive relationship amongst the Mopilas and the Malaya Rajas and the Nayyar aristocracy for territorial and economic gains. By the 18th century, this competition was flaring into bloody incidents. The British conquest had tipped the balance in favor of the Hindus landed caste over their Mopila tenants, who had retaliated regularly against the Hindu landed caste to break out the economic stranglehold. These attacks had been carried out as ritual acts to gain martyrdom. On the occasion, they were expression of religious drive alone. The climax to these attacks was the rebellion of 1921-22. The reconstruction of India by Edward Thompson. Khilafat was not an Indian issue. The Muslims gave it more support than they had given to any Indian cause, which Gandhi accepted as quite natural. In a statement published on 2 October 1921, he said, "The brave Ali brothers are staunch lovers of their country, but they are Muslims first and everything else after. And it must be so with every religiously minded man." They are passionate in the Khilafat agitation, therefore, did not inspire feelings of the Indian nationalism in Indian Muslims, which would have strengthened the Indian unity. It nourished instead the feelings of Muslim nationalism, and in time developed into demand for Pakistan. Guru Ka Bagh, a Sikh shrine, is 20 kilometers from Amritsar. Sundar Das, a Mahant, had the mutual negotiations made available the shrine of Sikh committee. However, the latter went back on it and saying that although he had surrendered Gurdwara to Shiromani committee, the piece of land known as Guru Ka Bagh attached to the Gurdwara belonged to him. The Sikh pulling down trees on Guru Ka Bagh for the community kitchen. The police, which was willing to oblige him, arrested 5 Sikhs on charges of trespassing on 9 August 1922. The arrest having made on a confidential report received by the police